I got a few gigs next week. The 11th, I'm with Epic Rap Battles of History in Chicago. The 12th, I'm with Epic Rap Battles of History at the Loving Touch in Ferndale, Michigan. The next day, I'm getting on a plane. And then Friday, the 14th, I will be in London, England. And the next day, I'll be in Leeds, UK. And then the next day, I will be in Milton Keynes, UK. So SUMPmusic.com, SUMPPmusic.com for tickets, and I'll see you next week. And I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. Wes Johnson, a prolific voice and film actor, and also announces a sports team. He also was in a John Waters movie, so we're going to get into that. So right now, on with the pod. Thank you for being here, Mr. Wes Johnson. I met Wes at the Retro Game Con in Syracuse, New York, where I was performing. But welcome.
I loved your act, man. We were having a great time watching something. You were up there. Just some of the expressions you have are out of this world.
Yeah. I'm kind of a normal dude, but when I get on stage, it's a show, so I'm gonna contort my face and spit on people and talk about weird shit. And that's what I do, yeah. I appreciate it.
I like to say it was sort of like Anthony Michael Hall after getting his junk stuck in a zipper. That was one of my favorite expressions.
Okay, Anthony Michael Hall after getting his junk. Did that happen in one of his movies?
I don't think so. I think that was Ben Stiller that happened to.
Okay, yeah, but it reminded you if that were a thing.
It was just that the contortion, the sudden, the action, the violence. When you got up on stage, man, the energy that you put out was like nuclear level. And being that we're doing a whole lot of Fallout stuff, I'm into that. It had a half-life. There was a rad level on you that was coming off. It was great.
I love it. What is your opinion on the Fallout television show?
I love it. I think it's great. What's cool is that they really got the feel down. They got the feel of Fallout down. It looks like Fallout. It feels like Fallout. At the beginning, when they go through the training, the special training, if you know what that is, then you're cool, right? I mean, but they don't really spell it out for people who don't know. So it isn't wonky, but if you know, you know. And then later, there's an episode where they go into this place called Philly, and they do something called what we call VATS in the game, where things go slow motion violence, like a bullet comes in slow motion and hits somebody. Blah. That's VATS. And they did that in the show, but they don't explain it and spell it out to you. It's if you know, you know. So there were all sorts of little Easter eggs in there. It had the right flavor, the right feel. The story was good. I think they did an excellent job.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed it being a guy that had no idea about the Fallout games. Like, I went in completely blind, and I'm just like, okay, Amazon, this seems cool. Walt Goggins, yeah. It was actually before Walt Goggins hit his real recent stride. I think this was like one of the roles where he just like, plutonium levels.
Everything, and he's always been so good in everything, but nobody really pays attention to that. Suddenly, this made him a star. No nose is now the new nose.
No nose, new nose. I like it. But yeah, I got a bunch of dumb questions to ask you because you've been in movies and you've done the radio thing with Wolfman Jack, and
baby, the Wolfman Jack. Hey, are you little peaches, sweet baby? Cash, check, or money order.
So were you doing the Wolfman Jack voice, or were you with Wolfman Jack for that?
No, I was with Wolfman. I wrote comedy bits for him. We do them live every week. The last 2 years of his life, I was with him on his radio show. I was his comedy sidekick. So I'd write scripts, get as loony and crazy as I want to. I'd perform a whole bunch of different characters. Wolfman would come in and do his Wolfman stuff. We'd take some other people in the cast who were there, the news girl and his manager sometimes would jump in and do a character. Like NYPD Blue was big, so he was from North Carolina. We did an NCPD Blue. We did a bunch of things. I'd do impressions of like Schwarzenegger, because at one point we were doing it from Planet Hollywood. So Arnold Schwarzenegger would come in and speak to him occasionally. Wolfman, let me tell you this. And then you would have Arnold Schwarzenegger come in, because he's like, we'll get you some Captain Crunch chicken, good stuff. Yeah, I'll tenderize the beef for you, Wolfman. And Wolf would read these scripts ahead of time and just be laughing, and we'd have a blast. I had my cockpit set up with all of my carts and sound effects and microphones and things that I could change. And we just did it live every week. A 4-hour show first it was from Hard Rock Cafe. And then the next year we did it from Planet Hollywood. And I saw him the very last night of his life. We hung out together and he signed the very last copy of his book ever to me.
What years was that?
I think that might have been 91. It's been a long time now.
Yeah.
I remember Wolfman came up to me that night because he had a weird feeling about things, and he had just signed a copy of his book to me. And I took that opportunity. I took the book and I said, thanks, Wolf. I said, we've been working together for 2 years. So when you're working with somebody, you don't tell them how much you appreciate working with them or how much they mean to you or anything. You do the work, you hang in, you have fun, you do stuff. You don't really get, into the feels about it. But this night he signed this book to me and is like, hey, Wes, baby, so glad we joined forces, that kind of thing. And I said, Wolf, I love working with you. It's been an honor to not just be, I've always been a fan, but now to be your friend means the world. And he's like, hey, come here, baby, come here. And he gives me this great big hug. Nobody gave a hug like Wolfman Jack. Big old hug. Says, don't you go nowhere, baby. Great things going to happen. We're going to LA next week. We got 70 stations picking us up. We're going to be moving from 59 to 70 stations. I don't want nothing to mess this up. I said, I'm not going anywhere, Wolf. Wherever you go, I'll go. Now, I lied because when he died, I didn't follow him. The next morning, he gets up. He gave me a big hug, put on this big black overcoat, big hat. And out into the night he goes. He gets on an airplane the next morning. He sleeps through the night. He's fine. Gets on an airplane, flies home. He's fine. Gets out in North Carolina. They bring a limo, brings him up to his house. And he gets out and his dog comes up. And his dog's name is Bear. So he gives Bear a raggle snaggle. And then he sees his wife. And the night before, Wolfman signed off on the show. One, his mother passed away 2 weeks before. So nobody else saw him. I was there. Everybody else had gotten up, but I'm sitting in my little cockpit and he doesn't know I'm sitting there. And he thinks he's by himself and he goes, this one was for you, Rose. I love you, baby. And then on the air, what he says was, hey, that's it, baby. Wolfman will be back next week. My puppy's the dragon. Wolfman hasn't been this tired for a long time. I can't wait to get home and give Lou a great big hug. I'll see you next week. So Lou Lamb Smith is his wife. He snaggles the dog. He walks up the front stairs to his front porch. There's Lou. And he opens his arms up and he goes, one more time for a hug. And then he just fell into her arms and died of a massive heart attack right there.
Holy shit.
In her arms. The one thing, all I want to do is give Lou one more big hug. And he did.
And he said that to you or he said that on air?
He said that on air.
Okay, yeah, I got a little wrapped up in it. Wow. Yeah.
So I got a call that day. My kids were still young at the time. And this is when answering machines, you can play them back and you hear them talking to you, right? Not just all digital on the phone. It's on a tape. And I took the boys out. We got haircuts. We took them to the mall. We had a day. And we come back at the end of the day and the light is flashing off the hook on it. I go, good God, what do we got, 20 messages? And the first one I pick up, it's Lonnie Napier, who is Wolf's manager, but also his best friend. And he's like, hey, Wes, bad news, man. You're going to have to get your Wolfman impression together for the next week's show because we lost Wolf last night. And I could just feel the floor, everything drop out. And then that's all the messages were after that. We ended up doing a show next week, one more show, but it was a tribute show to him. And I ended up getting on the phone and calling everybody that he ever knew. We got Dick Clark to come on and do a thing. And he recorded a little something. And we got a little something from George Lucas, but that was interesting because they said George wasn't available right away, because of American Graffiti and all this. And they said, yeah, he's off writing on an island, writing the sequel or the prequel to Star Wars. So I found out about that before a lot of other people did. but we had all these people come in and doing things and talking about their memories and all this stuff with Wolf. And then after that was over with, then it was done. And then it was empty. Then it was like, we don't have to go to work on the weekends anymore. I don't have to write these scripts. I don't see my whole gang. So it was weird. It was a weird immediate end. Although I will say this, I went to his funeral on that Thursday, and I rode down with the producer of the show, and the Wolf had a limo that drove him everywhere. And Larry was the limo driver, and Larry picked us up, and Larry drove us down from D.C. to Belvedere, North Carolina, to Wolfman's house, where they had this big box that he was now in. I thought, this huge man is in his little box. That makes no sense. But they had a headstone that said Robert Weston Smith and then Wolfman Jack in the middle, and all around the outside. Remember, I was telling you, cash, check, or money order. Are you little peachy sweet, baby? Those are little things they had engraved around the outside of it. So they had a local preacher spoke. They had a local black choir came up and sang. We got up on stage and we talked about Wolf. It was a very private affair. And then they had a second funeral that Saturday. And I got a flyer in the mail, and it was like, the Wolfman Jack funeral. How is this? And so I got my buddy Mike Rawson, who does all the ghouls for Fallout, but he does the best Don Knotts impression over here. If you go on YouTube and look up Wolfman Jack show with my name, Mike Rawson does a Don Knotts impression. I'm doing Schwarzenegger, and we improvised a whole segment with Wolf. It's on YouTube. But when he sees Mike coming in with his beard and looking piratey and all this, Wolfman points at him across the room and goes, hey, know you're somebody. And everybody who saw Mike at the funeral on Saturday were like, oh, I bet Wolf loved you. And he kind of did, but they had recast the funeral. The preacher was now Robert Schuller, the big television evangelist. The choir was a world-renowned African choir that sang. It was the same songs. It was almost the same benediction. It was some of the same people getting up on stage doing the same thing. It's just, it was like it had been recast for Vegas. So that was bizarre. Wow. But not as bizarre as all of us standing around, a bunch of us. They buried him in his backyard, put the headstone there, put the box in the ground. And before they put the final ashes in, a whole bunch of us sort of stood around and got a little Willie Nelson around the grave, little Snoop Dogg, little, let me just say, Wolfman Jack. If you ever walked into one of his dressing rooms during one of his shows, I went and saw him with the band play. They opened that door, and the steam comes rising out, and the entire club is like, whoa, contact high. So, yeah, good times.
Wow, my buddy Nate would love that story. That's incredible. It reminds me when my grandpa before he passed. It's almost like he had a premonition. He predicted like when it was going to happen, and he said, "Tomorrow I'm going fishing with Bobby," and Bobby was his deceased son. You know, and it's
wow.
And so it kind of gives me that kind of vibes because it seems like in a way, I mean, do you think he kind of knew?
I think he had been trying to lose weight. He had been trying to do things. He had had a little incident before, and he was avoiding it. I saw an interview recently with Tim Curry, and Tim Curry said, "I'm not afraid of death, but I avoid it." And I think all of us are kind of there in some ways. I had an incident in Atlanta last year in January where I actually died. They brought me back. Which was just a crazy thing. I was in a coma for a week. I find that hard to believe now that was actually happened, that happened, but it did. And I'd never felt any premonition or anything like that coming on. That being said, after the fact, boy, howdy, do you get in touch with that other side of yourself? And I've realized I don't have any fear of that anymore. But again, like Tim Curry said, I'm going to avoid it because it's more fun here.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you some questions about that because I did a deep dive after y'all. First of all, I want to apologize because I did post a clip from when we met, and I made it like a 15-second clip with just JSJ on there
With John, John St. John.
Because he did the Duke Nukem voice, and I was like, I gotta post this on social media, but
I did the Shea Gorath for you, but you didn't know who that was.
Because I'm stupid, dude. I'm just some like sweaty rocker guy, you know.
For sure, and let me tell you something. You should get to know the Daedric Prince of Madness because, frankly, you do know it. You know the mania. You know the dementia. You know everything in between.
So. Okay, we'll get into that, but real quick, let's go back to would you consider it a near-death experience, or was it was a death experience?
Well, when they found me, I'd gone to do a thing for the Alzheimer's Association. I was going to speak, and I went to the hotel, and I crashed in the hotel, and I woke up like 4:20 in the morning. I remember it was 4:20 in the morning because I was like, oh, it's 4:20 somewhere, and I texted my wife. And I told her, sorry, I slept through the day. And I usually get to places a day early so I can scout them out. So I didn't miss anything. And nobody was missing me at this point. I kicked my shoes off at that point. I had my shoes on. And then I just pulled a blanket over me. Evidently, my text had all sorts of typos in it. I didn't know. Just sent it to my wife. She got it in the morning. She kept trying to reach me all day long, and she couldn't reach me. At the very end of the day of her work day, she's freaking out. I'm not returning calls. I'm not returning texts. She's left messages. She calls the hotel. They're saying, we can't go in because it's an Alzheimer's Association room. We need somebody from them to do it, and they're not here yet. So she called my son, who called security, and he was given the same line till my son said, my dad is missing. If you guys don't go in and make sure he's okay, I'll call the police, and if they kick your door in, that's on you. So guy's like, oh, all right, fine. He goes upstairs. First thing he does is call 911. 911 gets there, says that I am unresponsive with very little pulse. They load me into the ambulance, and on the way to the hospital, I end up getting coded.
Wow.
And they have to revive me and bring me back. When they get me to the hospital, they put me in a coma. They start IVs with massive blood transfusions, put me on dialysis. My whole body, all my organs were turning against me. My wife, they called her and said, he's not going to make it. You need to come down here and get end-of-life procedures in place. So it was pretty heavy stuff. But the Alzheimer's Association people, they flew my wife and one of my sons down, put them up in the hotel room the whole time, the 10 days I was in the hospital. Put another hotel room aside so my brothers and my sister could come and see me, thinking it might be the last time. But then when I started responding and coming back, the doctors were like, well, this is crazy because there was a guy in here with the same symptoms last week and he didn't make it. I got to tell you, man, they kept me away from social media, from everything when I came out of it. They didn't want me to see it at first. They were afraid I was going to get on and just say all sorts of crazy stuff. But I was intubated. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I was cuffed because they didn't want me touching the mouth. My legs were cuffed. I woke up at one point and thought I couldn't breathe and couldn't move and was paralyzed. So I didn't know what was going on with me for days. When finally I realized what was going on and started reading what people were writing and the people in the community reaching out to me, it was like George Bailey. It was like It's a Wonderful Life. You get a chance to see what life is like without you. Not many people get to hear the nice things people say after you're gone. And I was fortunate enough to realize that there was a whole lot of love out there that I had not tapped into, that I hadn't seen, that I was not aware of. So every day is a gift, man. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. This is Wes 2.0. This is my second chance. I probably shouldn't have made it. I've had friends and people I've lost since then, and I wonder to myself, why am I here? And they're not. So you just got to try to put some good back into the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's an intense story.
It's sometimes hard to believe that all this happened, but it absolutely did. And I see photos. My wife took a picture that she basically took a picture when she was FaceTiming with one of my sons. And it was me in this bed, and I wasn't there, man. I wasn't there. By all rights, I shouldn't be all there right now. I went a long time without a whole lot of oxygen, no respiration. Who knows how long I was in that room? They told me that if I had waited, if they'd taken another half an hour to find me, I wouldn't be talking to you today. I wouldn't be here. So I was really fortunate that people were looking out for me.
Yeah, it's why, my mom's in assisted living, and I try to tell her because she got a major surgery, and she fell in the rehabilitation, the rehab place. She fell like, immediately, and then had to get another major surgery. So when you talk about how you weren't there, she wasn't there, and it's cool that you have this sense of gratitude about everything, because I try to tell my mom all the time and be like, the aneurysm she had, and she had 3 brain surgeries one year. And I try to tell my mom, it's like, it's a miracle that you're even alive. Like,
right.
Let's try and, but she's got issues. I love my mom to death, but she's very,
and the thing,
go ahead.
Everybody's got their own bag of issues, their own bag of neuroses. Just all you can do is love them and let them know how you feel. And then you can't change them.
Yeah.
You just got to be there for them. Just let them know you love them.
Yeah, and that's we've been attempting to just do that and not take it personally. That she tends to look at things like a tad, more than a wee bit, like a lot bit on the negative side. But hearing you talk about how this is Wes 2.0 and every single day is a gift, and I mean, as cliche as that shit is. I flipped my van once with a bunch of dudes in it who didn't have seatbelts, and they could have died. We hit some black ice, and I remember after that it was the euphoria of all the stuff I took for granted. And I'm still here, so let's not fuck this up.
Exactly. Now, when I was going to amusement parks and things of this sort, when the kids were first growing up, and I got to relive stuff through their eyes. So you see things brand new through your kids' eyes as they're growing up, and it's stuff that you maybe got a little jaded about. All I can tell you is that having gone through some of this, I now, without the kids' involvement, I now feel gratitude and can see these things for what they are, things that I'd gotten used to and become accustomed to and became a little jaded to. I now know every moment, every time I do something, could be the last one. Could be the last video game. Could be the last time I announced the Washington Capitals out on the ice, the last Ovechkin goal. Could be the last time I see my wife or my kids every time I get together with them. And I'm planning that not to be the case.
Right.
But if you look at life in a way that you realize that every moment needs to be savored, you're not going to be 100% successful all the time, but I'm more successful than I used to be with it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perspective that do you find since this happened that you're more present?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, although I tell you, this past weekend I sat with the dog on my lap and I binged Slow Horses, the Gary Oldman TV series. And it was like the Beatles sang in that song, "Oh, that magic feeling, nowhere to go." I love that feeling. So, you think to yourself, I should be out doing this and experiencing this, or I should be doing that. But you know what? Just sitting with a dog on your lap, just sitting with a friend and having a drink, just you and I sitting and chatting right now. Those are things to be savored. Those are the little things, and it's the small things that mean the world in the end.
Was there a time when you were pursuing, the acting or like your creative pursuits that ended up becoming your career? Was there a time where, because like I'm at the point where things are starting to go okay for me, and I'm starting to make a little bit of money doing the creative shit. But I find myself like in hustle mode, and I'm thinking
you grind all the time, man.
Right. But
it's always a grind. It's always a grind. But just remember this, sometimes when you grind, you do make progress, but it grinds back.
So I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, it does. And I can tell you, I know you're a musician, man. So I know when you're on the stage, you're alive.
Yes.
You're alive on that stage. But when you got to pack the shit up and take it to the gig and put together everything, and then at the end tear down and make sure you've got everything, and then driving to and from, that's some ponderous crap, man.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm doing it by myself, and because you probably go to these cons most of the time by yourself. All the traveling
and merch. You got a wife and 2 cats.
5.
5. Sorry, I
it's all
messed
good.
up
You're good, dude.
Line. When you said that I got 5 cats and a wife. Buy my shit. I was like, best ending line to a set I've ever heard.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't think about a lot of that stuff. Like, a lot of what I do is, I don't know, it's rehearsed in a way, like the songs themselves, but I try to make the banter in between be a very in the moment thing, so that I didn't rehearse that line. That was just, I was like, I got to make money, dude. So I screamed at the audience. I'm like, hey, I got mouths to feed. Buy my shit. So
what I noticed about you is something that I tell people in my acting classes, is that you may know the lines, you may know what you need to do, you may know to be there, but every single time you have to live it. It has to come from a real place inside you. So you're recreating it every time, and you're living in the moment. I could tell you were in the moment up there.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing is, also I think about it from the audience perspective. I used to tour with the band, and they practiced their banter and they practiced their stage moves, and everything was this very rehearsed thing. And they do well for themselves. No shade on them, but there's something about, you're in a different city. That means you can talk about different kinds of food. That means you can talk about, what you thought about on the toilet that day. There's a million ways you could make that a unique experience for the people in the audience. And it's like, I have to do that. If I don't do that, it gets stale,
Well, it's a difference between putting a front up and puppeting it, and coming from within and giving a real portion of yourself. And you give a real portion of yourself, and it is heightened. It is absolutely heightened, and it is performance, but there's real in there. And if there's not real, I can tell. And it was real.
Oh, well, thanks, dude. Yeah. So let's get in. So you teach acting as well? You said
I do acting classes. In fact, I took the summer off, but I teach to a place called the Theater Lab. And I do a video game voice acting class. It's about 2.5 to 3 hours long, once a week for 6 weeks. And we're starting again tomorrow. With the first one back. And what happens is everybody starts off, we get to know you, we start doing things. By the time it's done, everybody joins this Discord group. And I have a Discord group with like hundreds of students. Not all of them keep coming back, but they all have access to go to this Discord group and share their experiences, share auditions, to talk, to pump each other up, because that's the important thing. Someone once told me about when you go out and you're working at acting and you're trying to do acting, try to hang out with the people who are really actually working to work, not the ones who want to just bitch about not getting work, because that's a snake that'll continue eating its own tail. That is a depressed death spiral. And if you get caught up in that, you're never coming back. But when you have people who support you and push you along, it's great. And always lend a helping hand or an offer for a helping hand to somebody, because out of 100 people, maybe one of them will take it, will follow through with it, because it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world. But telling people, shoving people away, acting as if it's a big secret, basically being a dick, that's a black thing. And I think the karmic wheel is real. It's like a lazy Susan. And if you take a poop on it right here, that sucker's going to come back around to you later on. So.
Right. So real quick, someone was telling me that, because the AI thing is happening to musicians, and the generative AI, is it seeping its way into the voice acting realm?
It is. I was with the union. We had a whole committee. We've been negotiating. We were negotiating for 3 years with some of the companies to try to make sure all we wanted was permission and representation and compensation. That's what we wanted. And they wanted to say, no, once you do something, we own your voice and we can use it to make anything we want. So there was a bit of a disconnect there.
Oh, wow.
Finding now is the people who are not part of the union and people who are fans, and this upsets me, But people who are fans will take my voice and create something or a mod or something I'm not allowed to do and make me say things that I don't do. And, one person wrote a letter to me and asked if they could use me as AI to train AI and use my voice. And I said, listen, I appreciate you asking. I really appreciate that, but I'd rather you didn't. If you want to take the voice and edit it analog wise, cut it up like the guys who do the Zoom rap, they're just using analog and they're taking what's actually there and creating something from it. And I think it's very funny. But if you're taking my voice and training AI to replace me, and they said, well, I can't afford you. Then you can't afford me. But here's the deal. I do stuff for charity all the time. I've done stuff for low-end budget things all the time. I make it easy for people to use me. But to them, that's a bit of a hassle sometimes. And it's gotten bad. You've got people now who will call you up on the telephone, get you to say certain things, copy your voice, then call a relative and tell them that you're being held hostage.
It's terrifying.
They've got banks are now saying, would you like us to use voice activation to recognize you from here on out? I'm like, hell to the no. My voice is out there enough already. I'll keep my Byzantine codes. Thank you very much. But, the moment the AI is easily copyable, but it doesn't have the soul. It can't create. That's why they want to keep getting actors and pay actors to give them many different takes and emotions, train the AI to act, to do these things. They even had an actress recently that they created out of AI that they tried to get representation with an agent with and get them union status.
I saw that.
As someone who loves Star Trek and believed that Data was, very near and dear to our hearts, it's still very hard to want to allow the AI to take over.
Agree.
You got musicians that are losing their opportunities because someone's out there creating a song who can't sing, who can't play music, but they can hit a couple keystrokes. And then they can create a face and create somebody that they say is the artist. And those things are out there that you can download now. There are things on certain mod boards where people have taken my voice and other actors' voices and have us saying things that are awful, just awful. And that's not cool. So I have a big issue with that. And I think anybody would. It's a neat toy.
Right.
Okay. But it's a tool. And it's not the tool I have an issue with. It's the tools that are using it.
Right. Yeah, I remember, in 2023, was it? When, seeing the Will Smith eating spaghetti, and the AI was very primitive, and it seemed like a harmless thing. And now it's getting to the point where it's funny because they always talked about how the AI was gonna take over all the bullshit people didn't want to do, but it came for the creative shit immediately. It's for the image generation and music generation, and now
these.
Yeah, crazy.
But nobody wants that. They all want to be creative, man. Everybody wants to be creative. You've got people all along throughout the ages who've never been able to be creative, but they've discovered that they can own the creatives.
That's terrible.
And force them to do what they want. Now they can get rid of the troublesome creatives and just cut out the middleman and do it with AI. If anybody has a problem with that, I think they're on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what you were saying too about they owned the creatives, because you hear about like all the way back in the 50s and stuff, the way the music industry was, the way it was structured and whatnot. You hear like all of those crazy stories about people getting robbed from day one, probably with actors and VO and all that stuff.
Stuff like that still goes on. Look what they did to Badfinger.
What's Badfinger? I'm stupid.
The band Badfinger.
Okay.
They had the guys who took the money and stole everything and took everything from them. And the two main guys of the band ended up killing themselves over it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Good times. Hey, real quick, because I don't want to keep you too long.
Fun stuff, man. This is a real upbeat kind of thing.
No, I mean, I like that we could get into some heaviness right from the get-go, because part of this podcast is a lot of me oversharing, and now, I got someone who's telling me their stories. I like it. I'm with it. But okay, so when I was a little kid, I noticed I had like an auditory propensity. Like I would always make noises, and I'm just wondering, you got into doing stuff with your voice. Were you making weird noises with your voice when you were a kid? Is it something you noticed you had an affinity for or a talent for, like early on?
I would get a cassette recorder, and I'd do voices and do little shows back and forth and do all the different voices and do the sound effects and do all sorts of things and create these little shows. Nobody was entertained probably except for me.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it to this day. I also was a cartoonist. I drew on everything. I actually had a comic strip that I wrote and drew for 2 years for the Washington Times. Getting paid for this stuff, for writing my fantasy stuff, for drawing, for voicing, all the stuff that my teacher said, Wes will never get ahead because his head is in the clouds. Wes continues, look at this math paper. We've got unsolved math problems, but he drew the Archies across the top, So, yeah, I mean, my Batman suddenly shows up on one of my things, and it's like, well, I know I'm supposed to do an essay, but I'm Batman. So, yeah. They all felt that there was a little something wrong with Wes, and they're probably right. But the fact of the matter is, I was having fun, and I continue to have fun, and you got to keep the kid inside of you alive. What is that old scripture they say in front of like weddings and stuff? When I grew up, I put aside childish things. Well, to hell with that. Those things go for a lot of money on eBay. I love my childish things. I love my comics. I love my science fiction TV shows. I love my comedy. I'm a Monty Python guy. I used to do sketch comedy and stand-up comedy. And, the fact of the matter is, if you're not having fun in this life, you're screwing up, because I've recently discovered you get one shot. You get one shot. You were telling me, you were talking earlier about the fact that when you're working and you're doing your music and you're doing things and you finally start getting paid for some stuff, it's nice. But in this world, you have to have a job, initially especially, that feeds the body, but don't neglect the job that feeds the soul. You got to have both. Because if you're not feeding the body and you're not feeding the soul, you're going to starve in some elemental way. You're going to starve of the spirit, or you're going to starve of the body. And eventually, if the one that feeds the soul can do all the work and feed everything, then that's success. I have friends who, when I was running around with no money, sucking down oodles of noodles, driving real PLSs because that's the only thing I could afford. They're all like, poor Wes, poor Wes. Well, now they see me doing stuff that I want to do and enjoying my life. And they're like, boy, I wish I was doing what Wes did. And it's like, did I not invite you to come join me at the time? I did. I said, let's come out and play. And you guys are all like, no, we can't come out and play. We got to be serious, and you're not serious. Yeah, but I am serious. I do what I love, but I work hard at it. And I'm serious about making it do. When I perform, I really get into it. I really look at the characters and take them from within and try to do the work of the heart and the soul with each character that will make them real for somebody out there. When I get on stage, when I'm doing film, you learn every step of the way. You fall down, you fail, you get back up, and you go again. And so these people now who are like, boy, Wes, I just want to do what you're doing. I had a guy, I helped him put together a home studio. He wanted to put together a home studio. And I'm trying to teach him how to do this. And I'm saying, you got to put a demo tape together, do this. And he finally goes, I don't want to do all this crap. I just want to get the jobs you're getting now. So, yeah, you and I both know that you work your ass off to get whatever little bit you can. You grind. But you know what? I can't imagine my life any other way, because this is what I love. This is who I am.
Dude.
And I don't want to change that. Put me in a cubicle, that's a prison sentence.
Wow. Everything that you just said, those are like my mantra. Yeah, honoring the inner child, and then taking that energy and putting it out into the world, and then doing the thing that feeds my soul. I've been doing that for 20 fucking plus years. It's just crazy. Yeah. It's just crazy that now people are like, oh, and it's funny too. Like once my shit started going kind of viral, people were like, "Oh, I always knew you had it in you." No, you didn't, dude. Everyone thought it was I was sleeping in my mom's basement and sleeping on girlfriends' couches, and I was driving around 150 days out of the year, sleeping on fucking floors. We slept in a house where the dog had scabies, and there was a bunch of fruit flies in the sink, and everywhere we went it was like scummy, disgusting, and I was poor and I still don't make a lot of money, but it's crazy. Like even that con, I was like, they paid me and they put me in a hotel, and I had a fucking blast, and it was like that was a beautiful experience. And I told I told the purveyor of the entire event, Patrick, I was just like, This is like a top-notch moment for me, like getting to play a retro song on my guitar. Like I only know one video game song, but it was an amazing moment, because I'm not a video game guy. Like I play some. I played when I was a kid, but I feel like the sensibilities and the nerdiness of me as a human, I feel like there's a connectivity there.
We need to get some of the role-playing games now, because you would dig the immersion of it. I play them now, like they just reissued Oblivion, and I do a bunch of the voices in Oblivion. So I started playing it again, and I used to play it a lot back in the day. And it's the same old thing. You say, I'm going to play for a half an hour before I go to bed. Next thing you know, you hear birds chirping outside, and you realize your day is toast. So, yeah, Patrick was a great guy, wasn't he? I really enjoyed that con. It was a good time.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. He was he saw my video on the internet and invited me to do the thing, and now here we are talking on the podcast. It's all connected. I really love that part of life. And that's what I tell myself, too, when I get down on myself, and I'm like, this is hard. But as my journey keeps going, I keep meeting new people and getting to hear even your story and talking about the feeding of the soul, like little tidbits of things from these conversations. I'm going to take that with me. So I appreciate that outlook.
Yeah, I appreciate you. And we decided to come to the party. And when we got there, you just gotten up on stage, and I don't know if you saw, but I was out there in the middle of the pit. I used to be at a radio station here in DC called WHFS. It was HFS. It was modern rock. It was a rock alternative. It was like a legendary alternative station, and they knew me as Wild Wes. My hair was a little longer. I rode a motorcycle. Then one day I got married. The hair shortened up. The next thing you know, the W gets turned upside down, and I'm Mild Wes. But we had a big get together recently with a bunch of the folks from HFS when everybody got back together and doing a reunion, and I'm still doing what I do and what I wanted to do and stayed true through all these years. And a lot of people, they fall off by the wayside, and you'll see that. It happens. People, they give up. But I always say, follow in the footsteps of what, one, Churchill, and two, Galaxy Quest, when you say, never give up, never surrender. Sure, you get knocked down. I have all the little phrases. Remember the Weebles wobble? Get knocked down, but they get back up again. And then there's, I get knocked down and I get up again. All these things happen. Rocky. So how hard you get hit. So how hard you get hit and get back up again. That's it. We're all going to get hit. We're all going to have failure. But what you do is you shake yourself off and you go back in again. If you can learn a lesson from it, that's fine. But sometimes it's just a matter of it was the wrong place, wrong time, and the right time will come. Learn what you can. Grow your craft. Make yourself the best version of you possibly can. Follow your heart, your joy. If you follow your heart and your joy and let your head set the directions, you're going to be all right.
Hell yeah. Real quick question too. I don't know. You're kind of blowing my mind, dude. Honestly, I didn't expect for this to be you just got me thinking a lot, you know?
That can be dangerous for both of us.
Well, yeah, because I get contemplative and I overthink and I'm thinking about things too much and but it's nice seeing someone that's 20 years my senior that is far into their career and is still like I still have fun and like
Yeah.
and also just your perspective about enjoying the little things in life and being appreciative. It's I don't know. I want to get to the point where I can look around and just be like, I did the thing and I had a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
it. Because right now I'm in.
20 years ago,
Go ahead.
I would say this: don't worry about what other people think about you. That's none of your business. You just think about you. Be true to yourself. Be true to your heart. Be true to your art. Be true to who you actually are. And if somebody else has an issue with that, that's their issue. Everybody has their own big giant bag of neuroses, Oh, yeah. If they want to be insecure enough to try to hand theirs to you, you'd be like, you do you, man. I got my own over here. Be comfortable with who you are, know who you are, and work on yourself. Other people out there, once you realize that most everybody else out there is also insecure in a certain way, it gives you a power to not worry so much about what they think, and also a little bit of empathy towards them. I no longer fear people as much as I understand them a little better and their fears. They're speaking at you and shoving their fears at you. Their fears are not your fears. Their fears are not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to take care of your own heart, to take care of your own self. And if they have issues, well, there's not much really you can do other than be kind. Be kind to them, but be kind to yourself and move on. And keep it going. Never give up, never surrender.
I love it. Real quick, you did a John Waters movie.
I was Fat Fuck Frank. I used to weigh 200 pounds more than I weigh right now.
And what was the total? What did you top out at?
360.
Oh, wow. Okay. How tall are you?
5'8".
Okay.
And they put fake tattoos on me. I had fake tattoos. Selma Blair was my girlfriend. I was a biker by the name of Fat Fuck Frank. And her mother was Tracy Ullman. Her father was Chris Isaac. And the leader of my gang was Johnny Knoxville. And we had a blast. It was one of the most fun months of filming. Talk about the same kind of feel you get when you're in high school putting on a play and the whole group of friends and all this. That's what we had going on there. And I still go out and see John at his Christmas shows, and he's got one coming up here in D.C. soon, and he has one in Baltimore, and he travels the country. If you get a chance to go see the John Waters Christmas show, it's scatological, it's funny, it's festive, you will laugh, and occasionally you'll go, ew. So it's wonderful. I know when the first time you saw me after losing the weight, I got in the line after one of his shows and bought one of his books. I think it was the one on hitchhiking, because he went hitchhiking across the country. Pretty dangerous this day and age. But John hitchhiked across the country and he wrote the book about it. So I got in line, and Kim and I, my wife, we get up there in front of him, and he's got his head down. He's like, "Here, should I make this out too?" And I'm like, "Can you make that out to Fat Fuck Frank?" And he stops and he looks up at me and he's like, "Is it you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." And he goes, "Did you lose it on purpose?" "Yes, I did." "Okay, good. Yeah, we're all happy. All's good." So, but as far as, there's a guy who never gave a flying fuck about what anybody thought about him.
Right.
He did what he wanted to do.
Yeah. I like the first word he used to describe the show is it's scatological. So
Yeah. And but also classy at the same time.
Yeah, I like how he blurs that line, because he takes the Americana and then he mixes it with the grotesque, and I think that's
yes, he does,
yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. He's if you get a chance, if you want to learn a little more about John, one of the books that he wrote that was biographical was called Shock Value, and I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun to read, And if you do rent a Dirty Shame, get the NC-17 version, not the R-rated version where they call me Fat Freak Frank and everything got cut out, the neuter edition. Get the NC-17 version. There's a thing on the back called All the Dirt on a Dirty Shame. It's a documentary just as long as the movie, which touches upon a lot of that shock value stuff that was in the book, and it's terrific. And getting a chance to meet a bunch of, and work with a bunch of the Dreamlanders that he originally put together, to be in a movie and to hang out with Mink Stoll, who made fun of my frou-frou coffees, as she called it, because she was a Maxwell House woman, and I would always come in with these different coffees with different flavors, but I loved her. She was fantastic, and I just can't, if you ever get a chance to be in a John Waters movie, you say yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's incredible. So as far as what you wanted to do when you first started?
This is my hat from the movie.
Oh, beauty.
This here's the hat that was worn by Fat Fuck Frank. Mrs. Nichols, I'm your daughter's #1 fan.
When you first got into the comedy and the acting stuff, did you want to do the voice over stuff, or?
The voiceover stuff is just acting. It really is.
Right.
Acting. I got into doing sketch comedy. I was doing stand-up comedy, which if you can get past the first couple stand-up things, you're doing okay. That was my first couple of stand-up comedy things. The first one I ever did was a timed open mic night. And they put a egg timer with 5 minutes on there. I just forgot to get any heckler material. And the guy in front of me was a wonderful comedian, a juggler named Kevin Lee, who was throwing like a chainsaw bowling ball and a scarf in the air and juggling those things, How do you follow that?
Right.
But I get up on stage and I'm starting to follow that when he comes up and realizes the whole time on the fan, his scarf's been going round and round. He comes up and goes, "Whoop, excuse me," gets a big laugh, and off he goes again in the middle of my set. And I'm trying to then restart this thing. The guy in the front row, who's drunker than hell, is just razzing the hell out of me the whole time, and I'm totally rattled. And I feel like I've gone through 40 minutes of material in I look up and it's been about 2.5, 3 minutes. And I still got 2 minutes left to go. So I reached up to the egg timer and went, ding. And I looked back to the mic and I said, "Well, that looks like it's my time, folks. If anybody needs me, I'll be at home hanging in my closet. Good night." And that was the first laugh I got of the night because it was real. It was natural. And it was like, oh, okay. Two things. I tried to make things a little more real. I still did my sketch comedy bits that I was doing at the time, but I added more stuff that was real, stuff that could be improvisational, and I put a lot of material together to aim at hecklers, which came in handy one time down in the swamps of Florida, where a guy who was about 6'7", probably weighed about the size of a moose, was very drunk, and all he did was heckle me through the entire thing, and my entire set was me making fun of this guy who was put together back when meat was cheap. And, are mom and dad here, or is there some kind of a cousin reunion going on somewhere? And, we continued doing all this stuff, and I'm slamming him, people are laughing, he's making comments, I'm hitting him again. I set him literally on fire verbally. And I say, "Thank you very much." People go, and I'm thinking, I didn't do hardly any of my set. And 5 minutes later, I go into the men's room, and this guy turns around from the urinal and goes, "Hey!" Oh, shit. And he's like, "We killed out there, didn't we?" "Yeah, good thing I didn't have any material. You saved my whole bacon. Thank you, man."
That's a good time. Yeah, you see videos on the internet of hecklers actually punching comedians. It's a thing that happens these days.
People think it's the internet anymore. The internet, people, I see you, you see me. It's not the internet. And people in cars think that they are totally immune, that glass and that bubble puts them in another world. And I've had little old ladies pass me by throwing me fingers. I'm like, what? Grandma, is that you? People who are just will say certain things in public and open their mouth and say something god awful that they never would have said before. And it reminds me of Zod in Superman, when it's like, why do you say this when you know that I will kill you for it?
Right. Yeah, it's a wild time. Especially in Detroit. I don't know how it is in DC, but people are really angry around here, especially on the road.
On the road, it's especially worse. You can have somebody who's just the sweetest individual in the world, and you get them behind the wheel of a car, and it's like, terrifying.
Yeah, my wife always, I don't know. I think people are trying to kill me when I drive. I'm like, these people are trying to kill me. And she's like, you need to calm down. It's like, I'm just trying not to die. Because I don't know. Are they trying to kill me, or I just get kind of rattled? I'm a kind of a high anxiety person, so.
Yeah. Well, it's always the passenger. The passenger has no control. They're always going to judge the driver for their anger, but you put them behind the wheel, and they're going to, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same. And then you'll be like, honey, you're going to get us killed now. Honey.
She's pretty chill. She only gets angry outside of the vehicle, and it depends on the day. But she's fiery. I like her.
Well, it's good. It's good. You got a spicy relationship there.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty chill, but she
well,
can,
speaking
she
of
can
chill,
be intense.
I have, unfortunately, have to take off because my dog is due. We're going to go have his butt scrubbed.
Get that butt scrubbed. Wes, I appreciate.
It's the only part. We're going to, nothing else is getting washed, just that.
Why is it just the butt? Can you?
Maybe we'll ask him to toss in the rest.
Well, hopefully the dog is okay, you know?
No, he's good. He's just, he's 10 months old. And we got him when he was 8 weeks old.
Oh, he's a baby.
And oh my God. We had a dog that was 13 years old before, and she passed. And we got this puppy. It's like a squirrel on crack, man. More energy than a million suns. And you're thinking to yourself, what have I done? What have I done? The dog's now finally calming down. So it's spa treatment day.
I love it. Well, enjoy your time with the butt washing, and I appreciate your time, Wes. And
I want to get together and see your show again, man. You are awesome.
So you're in DC, right?
I'm in DC. I call Capitals games for 26 years. I do stuff. The next place I'm going to be is at the Fallout fan celebration in Good Springs, Nevada, outside Las Vegas at the Pioneer Saloon. A lot of the Fallout voiceover people will be there from the games, the TV series. We're going to do a Voice of Palooza. It's going to have cosplay. It's going to be fantastic. So it's the 14th through the 16th of November. So if you get a chance, come on out. If anybody wants to come out and play, that's where we're going to be.
Thanks, Wes.
Cheers, man.
Hey, thanks for watching the video. Comment below. It helps the algorithm. And then there's a Patreon link right here if you want to support the channel. You could also subscribe. And there's another video around here that you can watch if you want to watch more stuff. Your time is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a fantastic day.